Make sure to like and subscribe, guys.
Hey, Simon.
Hey, Baraa.
Hey, everyone. So we are live. I hope that we sound clear and everything good at your side. Just gonna wait a few seconds and then we start. How are you, Simon? How is everything at your side?
Yes, I'm well. Thank you. Thank you also for inviting me. I'm very excited.
Sure.
Hello, YouTube. Hello, LinkedIn. Hello, Twitch. Hello, TikTok. Or who are we streaming to?
We are streaming today to only YouTube and LinkedIn. Maybe next time I'm going to add all platforms, but I don't have a lot of followers there. So
yeah, okay.
Maybe you bring the other platforms next time. Yeah, let me check how many we have. We have already 170 listening to us. So hello, everyone. I hope that it's going to be a nice stream for you today.
Nice.
So,
yeah, it's good to see all the comments. Hello, guys. Yeah, thanks for writing.
Amazing. So I'm going to say, let's start. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our, let's say, first stream. Me and Simon here on YouTube and in LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us today. So yeah, hey Simon, I hope that's everything good at your side. For people that don't know Simon, I worked with him for around 3 years on Mercedes-Benz, and we built one of the biggest data projects there. I was leading the project, and Simon joined us as a senior data engineer from T-System to assist us. And then we spent around 3 years building things. And it was really one of the highlights, let's say, at my career in the projects. We went into different phases, and yeah, our team was very small at the start, and then we grew together. So I can say Simon did see all the phases, of the project that we have done. And I can say he is one of the, let's say, best data engineers that I met in the project. Yes. And I can say that I'm really happy that I managed to convince Simon to join us today, because I can tell you something. If you go to the social media, you're going to find a lot of content creators that are talking about, let's say, tools, programming languages, teaching about stuff around data engineering and data analytics. But the people that are really with the industry experience, they are busy at their life, and they have, like, let's say, zero presence in the social media. And I was there as well. It's only 3 years been until I came to YouTube and I start talking about it. So actually, people with the experience, they just let's say busy with their work. They don't have the time to go and start posting about it in YouTube or LinkedIn. So you will not see them. They are hidden gems. And I started talking about those stuff 3 years ago on YouTube, and I thought, you know what? Why not dig into my project and find those people that I worked with and try to convince them. Of course, it is really hard, to do two things, like doing your private, let's say, career, and then as well go publicly and start talking about those stuff. It needs a lot of time, especially if you have a family and kids and stuff. So I totally understand that people don't go publicly, but this is my plan now. I'm gonna try to bring some people from the industry, like Simon. I know Simon. I say Simon, but it is actually Simon. But in the we used at the project to see Simon, so I'm gonna struggle to say the English version of your name. So that's why I talked a lot with Simon, and finally, I convinced him to come today and join us.
Yes.
And just to have a talk, I just wanted to hear about some stories, some lesson learned. It's not about, let's say, now we're gonna make a course or something. It's all about tell you about our experience in the projects, to have some conversations about data, and maybe as well to pick your questions and start answering them. So I'm gonna say, I hope that you are excited about this, and I'm gonna start with Simon. Maybe Simon, give us quick introduction about you, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
what are
Yeah,
you
my
doing?
name is Simon, and I have 10 years experience in the industry, and I started off as a data engineer or I started off, sorry, as a data scientist, and then I became a data engineer and developed myself more and more into the direction of data architecture and things like that. So as Baraa said, I worked for 3 years on a project at Mercedes-Benz, and we built up a data lake. And 2 months ago, Baraa contacted me, and he told me that he is now a little bit known on YouTube. He
Little
had
bit.
this channel, and it was, like, mind-blowing for me because I saw that he had more than 270,000 or so subscribers. It was just mind-blowing to me. What happened to you, Baraa? Right? That was what I was thinking, and actually, in the project, what was also funny is that we worked together for like 1 year, and we didn't even know how we look like, right? Because when we were talking, everyone was just closing the cameras, right, on Teams, on the project. And I remember the first time when we had to open the cameras, when there was like a manager or someone in the call, and I remember seeing all these pictures of the people, and I couldn't really tell who was who, right? Because I didn't know how these guys looked like. And I remember you telling me, "Oh, Simon, that's not you. That's not you." I had a different picture of you in my mind, and here we go. And now we are even on YouTube.
This is crazy, Simon. I would never expect that. You know what? 3 years ago, that we would be now talking in a live stream. I would expect that we are just doing the same project for next 10 years because it's so big. And now look at us. After 3 years, I left my job. I am doing now YouTube, talking to you through live stream. This is crazy. I wish really I can bring everyone from our project and put them here and start
Yes.
talking about it here publicly,
Yes.
because there are a lot of nice people.
Yes.
It's a lot of people with a lot of experience. You know what? And yeah. Maybe one day I can invite the whole team. Then we start talking about those stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing because I think we started 2021, right? And
Yeah.
that was like COVID time, and we didn't manage to meet at all. So we were hidden behind the screens and doing the projects. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really glad about it that we are talking about it now. I'm gonna maybe talk about a little bit about our project later.
Mhm.
But now let's just dig deeper a little bit about you. So
Mhm.
now, could you tell me how it started all with the data with you? Is it like, did you study data engineering, or did you switch later?
Yeah.
So how did you find yourself to say, you know what, I am now data engineer and I enjoy it? So why you
Yeah.
choose this, and how did it all start in this
Yeah.
direction?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you for it. So basically, I studied mechanical engineering and business administration at the Technical University of Berlin in Germany. And back in the day when I started going to university, I didn't really know what to become, right? So I studied something very broad, very general. And I did a lot of like internships and tried to find out what is my passion, but I couldn't really find it. And it was just at the end of my university, right? In my master thesis, that was the moment where I discovered data science and analytics, right? Like right
Ah,
at the end of my degree, right? And it was so fascinating for me because I was in a project, also in a company, and they were asking me to make predictions. It was in the energy market, right? Doing predictions. And it was the first time when I had to program something, when I had to write code, right? And
oh wow,
it was mind blowing for me because it was the first time when I had an idea in my mind and I was able to bring it to life, right? I was able to build a
amazing.
product from scratch, right? Because as
Yeah.
a mechanical engineer, you don't have these opportunities, right? You cannot just build a car engine or something like that. You know, it's complicated. You need material, you need to be at a big company. But when you work in software, all you need is just a laptop and you need to write code. And this experience was so mind blowing to me that I decided to really focus on that. I didn't want to lose to write code till today. I mean, I've seen many engineers and data scientists who became architects and who don't want to write code anymore. They don't want to get their hands dirty anymore. But I still do because this experience of developing something and having an idea in your mind and bringing it
Mhm,
to life, that's something that really stuck with me, right? Till today.
mhm. So, guys, it's first time I know about those stuff. I I never interviewed so deeply. Let's say the people that joined my projects because he was not a colleague inside my team. He was from another company collaborating with us. So this is the first time I'm
Mm,
hearing about this stuff.
mm,
Yeah, we know each other, of course. During the projects, we get very busy, so it's gonna be hard, really, for me. We had like 20
mhm.
people. It's gonna be really hard for me to know
Yeah.
everyone. So it's now I'm
Yes.
sitting and listening to you. So this is amazing, Simon. You switched it was not directly something that you studied in the university, right?
Yes,
Something that you
exactly.
loved and you liked, because I believe a lot of people have done this as well.
Mhm.
Like I met a lot of people working with the data. They didn't like go to university and start learning about data. They do
Yes.
something else in, I don't know, yeah, whatever. It could be mathematics, it could be maybe any other career, and then they suddenly discover working with data, it's something
Mhm.
interesting, and they switch. So
Yes.
did you switch during the university or during the
Yeah, it
work
was just at
afterward?
my master thesis, right? So
Ah.
I had some statistic courses at university. I
Mm,
also liked statistics, but I didn't know about the big data industry. That was something that was
mm,
completely out of sight because the professors at my university, they didn't
mhm.
tell us about it, right? They only told us
Yeah.
about statistics, but they didn't tell us about data science.
Okay. And that means you learn those stuff on your own, right?
Yeah, I had to learn a lot on my own, like in my master thesis, and yeah, learned how to program. In the beginning, it was the programming language R, but then I switched to
Mm,
Python quickly, and yeah, I developed my own programming habits. But I also realized that just learning on your own
mhm,
without somebody reviewing your code and without some
mm.
external corrections can lead to messy behavior as well, right? So
So, uh,
you know, when I started coding, I wrote a lot of spaghetti code that was like all over the place and not very nicely
s-
organized. So I had to learn
mhm.
it the hard way. Yeah.
Because this is something that I get a lot of question about it in YouTube. Can I switch my career? Can like is it going to be hard? Should I go to university? But as you can see, guys, you can learn it on your own. Yeah, even if you come from different branch, from different study, you can just switch if you love
Yes.
the topics, of course, and you get hired as well. So you can learn it on your own. You don't have to go to university. Let's say and learn all those stuff. Well, I come from a little bit different story. I started
Mhm.
immediately with the IT topics, and then in my master I took data engineering topics. So I was going to this direction
Mhm.
since the university. But it is totally possible. You can see
Yeah.
Simon did switch. He learned the topics during the master. Like, it's really late. Yeah, it's not that early.
Yes.
And then he switched to completely different,
Yeah.
let's say, career, and he was very successful. I can tell you guys, he was doing multi projects, not only projects for Mercedes-Benz, but as well for other companies, and he was very
Mm.
successful. And maybe let me ask you, was it
Mm.
hard for you during the interviews to explain this? Like, was it like a struggle for you, or something that you say, you know what, he don't come from the data world, he didn't study it, let's say, yeah, correctly? What is
Yeah,
an
that
issue?
that's a good question. I mean, it was after university when I applied for my first data job, for a data science job, right?
Mhm.
And to be honest, finding a job after university is always hard. Even when your conditions are really good, even if you have a good CV, even if you had a good internships, it's always hard to find a first job. So don't be disappointed when the first interviews don't succeed and when you
Mhm.
get rejected. And I honestly got rejected a lot in the beginning. So it took me months. And for
How
other
much?
people I know, it took me like 3 or 4 months. And I know other people who also
For
had
your first job?
for my first job, yeah, after
Mhm.
university. And I know from other people in the field also that they sometimes had to look for half a year. Really, really good people. Sometimes you just don't know why you get rejected, but I wanna encourage you, like, when you want to get into the market, then try to try to push through it and learn from each interview. Every time you get rejected, you still learn something from that interview, right?
Simon, some
So
people
really
think
try
that
hard.
you look like an AI.
Okay.
Yeah, he look very perfect.
Um, maybe it's because of
Yeah,
the lighting. I don't know. I maybe
yeah. I
have
think
big
your
lights
setup
or
looks
thing.
looks nice, but I can understand this. You look like
Yeah.
AI. No, guys, he's real. We've done a lot of nice projects, and yeah, it's really gonna be nice if we have an AI version of Simon, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Simon, you said you switched from one to data science, but actually you joined my project as a data engineer.
Mhm.
So we are still not there. Did you switch on purpose, or did you get hired as a data scientist, but the project there available were data engineering projects? So
Yeah.
did you
Yeah.
switch on purpose, or did you force to be a data engineer?
Yeah, I was not forced. It kind of happened naturally because when you start as a data scientist, or when I started as a data scientist in the finance industry, I worked like for a big bank in Germany. I realized that when you want to do good predictions and when you want to create good machine learning models, you have to think about data a lot, right? You have to do a lot of data engineering. Like 80% of your
Mhm.
time, you have to like engineer data, right? And so it was very natural to think more about data engineering. And when I came to your project, the demand was just data engineering, right?
I
And
hope you are not blaming me.
yeah, it sometimes happens naturally that there is a certain demand, and I really started enjoying building these big data systems, data platforms, because the cool thing about data engineering is that when you build a data pipeline, it's very likely that that thing goes into production, right?
Mhm.
Because when the business department comes to you and wants you to ingest data into your data lake, they do it because they need the data, right? There is a
Mhm.
certainly so it's very likely when you build data products, when you build a data pipeline, that it will be relevant and that you can deploy it. Whereas in data science, it's not always the case, right? People can ask you to build some data science, like some machine learning models, but you have to do a lot of experiments, and sometimes the data is just not good enough to make good
Okay,
predictions on
so
them,
that
right?
means
And I've
it
seen
means I
projects. where
Mhm.
sorry for the last sentence, but
Yeah, yeah,
I've
it's
seen
okay.
projects where people were like trying to come up with good machine learning models, and they didn't deploy them into production at the end because
Hmm.
it's the topic is more open.
Um, yeah, the thing is, so that means first of all that you didn't switch on purpose. You
Yeah.
at the start you loved to be a data scientist, but in practice, the projects they were available needs a lot of data engineering. So
Yes.
now this is maybe a pattern that I saw a lot,
Mhm.
not only by you. If you, I don't know whether we say names, but in my colleagues, most of my colleagues were data scientists, joined the company as data scientists, but they all end up doing data engineering tasks. So
Mm.
it's something that I believe um, the need now currently
Mhm.
for data is very huge because of the AI. This is what I think about it.
Yeah.
And still, I believe still a huge amount of data still at the sources and not yet exposed.
Yes.
And we have a lot, like we done, you and me, like I don't know, 3 years. I've done the project around 6 years building it, and we just managed to bring like 10 sources. And I believe there are like thousands of sources that's still hidden. Still, no one is analyzing it, maybe using Excel or something, and still, yeah, not clean, not ready to do anything. That's why when they hire data analysts and data engineers, let's say data scientists in big companies, they're going to end up doing a lot of data engineering. And maybe they
Yes.
switch the whole career. I can name 5, yeah, in my team. They got hired as data scientists, but they spend years just doing one thing, data engineering. Like, is it a pattern? Because you joined as well multiple companies, yeah? I was
Mm.
targeting in my career to be a data engineer, but I saw a lot of people switching to data engineer either in purpose or they are doing it now because the career now is like booming, right? So, what do you think about those thoughts? Did you saw those patterns as well?
Yeah, yeah. I know also a lot of people who do mostly data engineering, even though their title is data science. You know, they got hired as data scientists, but have to do a lot of data engineering because it's quite natural, right? When you do want to do predictions and create machine learning models, you just need good data, right? So most of the time, you have to clean data, you have to understand data, to ingest data, and things like that. Yeah, and I think the cool thing about data engineering is that there are many components involved, right? You have to think about how do I deploy my data pipeline, like from the development environment into the production environment. And you don't want to do it manually, right? So you have to think about DevOps and about CI/CD pipelines, right? And you also have to think about how do I monitor my data lake? How do I um, build like a dashboard where I can see how much data is flowing through my data lake to make it transparent, right? And
Mhm.
it's so satisfactory when you have built a system that is stable, like in terms of deployment, but also in terms of operations.
Mhm.
Yeah, that you can maintain and develop further.
Okay, nice. Um, Maybe I have a lot, let's say, thoughts about data
Mm,
engineering. That's why we are discussing it now. Now,
yeah.
there's something like maybe as you were targeting to be data scientist, there is a value of your, let's say, insights that you bring to the business. Maybe you
Mm,
discovered some patterns, or maybe you predicted, let's say, something for for the future, but you are directly contacting the business and you can see the
yeah.
value as a data scientist directly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as a data engineer, it's like one step behind. You
Yeah.
are the back end guy.
Mm,
So, and I as well as I was leading the project, I had really hard time to connect you, data engineers or the
mm,
team, with the real business value because we were really far away to see the real value. We are just preparing the data so that
mhm.
others use it. And I believe as you were doing the project like 3 years, like you rarely had a contact with someone from the business. Like even for me, I had like a lot of contact, of course, because I'm
Yeah.
getting the requirements, but there is no direct contact, and you didn't see I don't believe you saw the value in the project. You understand the value, of course,
Yeah.
but you were busy, or let's say the team is busy connecting new sources, cleaning up the data, building new tables and data models, but we are not seeing the end. So is it something that's frustrate, let's say, that to be a data engineer, that's not to see the end value?
Yeah, the funny
What do you
thing
think
is,
about this?
as a data engineer, you will realize what the value is when your pipeline break. Right? Because when data doesn't get loaded, there are so many
Oh my
people
god.
contacting you. Data is not coming correctly. My report is not refreshing. We have to make business decisions tomorrow. We have important decisions to be made with the management, and so suddenly you realize how important
Oh
your
my
work
god.
actually is, right?
Now you remind me with one manager. I was trying to fight for a budget, yeah, for the team, and the same idea came to me. In order to prove that my project is important, we have to break the pipelines, and once we break the pipelines, everyone gonna know how important we are, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
and then I'm gonna get a budget, or let's say some focus, yeah, from management, because I believe we were very quiet with our pipelines. Like they break, but we were always ready to solve it, right?
Yes, yes.
So it
Yeah, I,
was
I mean, we really monitored the pipelines, and it's always best to know if something breaks before the consumer of the data knows it, right? It's always worse when the consumer comes to you and tells you about bad data quality, and you didn't realize it at that time, right? It's better to monitor it properly so that you fix the issues before the consumers even realize it, right? So
Mhm.
if it's a silent game, and yeah, if it's a silent game and nobody notices any issues, then it's just perfect. And if you want to manage a data lake smoothly, then you need like proper logging, you need proper monitoring, you need good CI/CD pipelines, you need to have a good release management and stuff like that,
Mhm.
right? This is all stuff that you learn on those projects, on building this while building these big data systems.
I picked this question from Jose. There is now as well a big hype as well, or let's say shift from,
Hmm.
yeah, not only data engineering, but as well something called analytical engineering.
Mm,
Um, are you aware of this title at the job? Because I think very
not yet.
classical one is the data engineering and
Yes.
analysts and data scientists. Analytical
Mhm.
engineering, it is like in between, you know, it's
Mm,
you are doing data engineering, but as well you
I
are
see.
doing data analytics. And I
Mhm,
believe, you know what, if you remember this lake house architecture, we have the
mhm,
bronze,
mhm.
silver, and gold. Now,
Yes.
we data engineers, we were very, let's say, uh, we have done our job perfectly in the bronze and silver because it is
Yes.
very technical. You know, I take the data, I look, then clean it up, and I don't need any. Maybe I don't need to understand the data itself. But the
Yeah.
struggle starts at the gold layer because you have
Yeah.
no idea what is the domain is. You have a lot of tables, you have a lot of
Yeah.
sources, and you don't know how I'm going to model the data. And this is exactly where comes the analytical engineer. Because if you bring
Mm.
any data analyst or someone
Yes.
from the business analyst, they don't have the skills to script the code. Yeah. Most of
Mhm.
them, they know Power BI, SQL, and stuff. But you need a guy or girl that
Mm.
can both the words. Yeah. They can script
Mm.
and as well they can understand the business. And of course,
Yes.
our weakest point, we're gonna talk about it maybe soon, is that we don't really understand all the data or the business, and
Mhm.
not because we don't want, yeah, it's because we are very busy connecting massive amount of
Mm.
data. Thousands of tables should be
Mhm.
loaded, and if something goes wrong, we
Mhm.
spend the whole day just fixing it. So
Mhm. Mhm.
we don't have the time to understand the data and maybe build a model from it. So now
Mm.
those people that can do both, yeah, understand
Yes.
the data and doing data engineers, now they are gold. and this
Yes.
role called now analytical engineer. So they are people
Yes.
that can build the gold layer, which I
Mm.
really struggle to find people that can do both, yeah, as well as the projects, because I have a lot of people can do PySpark, Python, and a lot of stuff, but no
Yes.
one
Yes.
is like have any idea about the domain itself. So that's why now it is becoming, yeah, let's say a new rule or something like that. It was not really famous, yeah, before analytical engineer,
Yes. Yes.
but I think now if someone has both of the words, it's like a golden, let's say, member to any project, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I was also in projects where, I mean, it always depends on your role a little bit, right? When I worked in your project, I was pretty much focusing on bronze and silver, and a lot about, my focus was more like on technology, on, understanding source systems like Kafka or legacy source systems and on-prem source systems and stuff like that, right? And
Mhm.
connecting those to the data lake. But if your team is smaller and you are also given the task to do reporting, then you have to understand the domain knowledge, right? You have to get domain knowledge from the business department directly, right? So, and I also had, like in other projects, multiple sessions where I did nothing but understanding domain knowledge, right? So I was like opening a chart and drawing a lot of pictures like boxes. Okay, you are talking about customers. Okay, how are they related to the store? Okay, one-to-many relation. Okay, all right. What other entities do we need to model in order to build a data model that we can build a report on and things like that? And then I think it gets really interesting because you need to bridge the gap between the business people and the data people. It's not enough to just think in terms of SQL or PySpark. But as soon as they want a report from you, they want certain KPIs from you, they want aggregated data from you, then you have to understand the data itself, right? At that point.
So as a data engineer, only if you are required to understand the data, you're going to go and try to learn it. Because like this is, of course, a big struggle, yeah, in each project.
Yes.
Like how to learn about the data, how to learn the domain. It's something a lot of data analysts, yeah, they do, and maybe they understand the business more than us.
Yeah.
But as a data engineer, is it something that we have to get first the task that someone force us, to understand the data, or should
Mhm.
I? Like I'm curious. Yeah, I'm working for this company.
Yeah.
Like for example, Mercedes-Benz. Should I understand the processes? I found, and during the projects, few people get really interested about the data,
Mm, mm.
and the rest were, you know what, I will just script, just give me the task, what to do. I will write the function and stuff, and then that's it.
Yeah, I would say a good data engineer has like general curiosity when it comes to the content of the data, and I think a good data engineer should be able to do like sanity checks on the data, right? So if I'm in charge of bronze and silver, I should
Mhm.
have a basic understanding of the data, and I should be able to do sanity checks. That means, okay, if I load data from certain, let's say, stores, and sales, I should be able to write a query that tells me if I have all the stores that are expected, right? Is it just one store that I get, or do I expect
Mhm.
like 10 stores? And, doing some sanity checks on the data is very valuable because then you can also write data quality checks that you can implement and that you can run um, in your
Mhm.
regular Python pipeline run. And I think this basic understanding is crucial of the data, but I think you don't need to understand how data is linked and how to model the data if you are just in charge of bronze and silver.
Mhm.
Like a very deep understanding of the data. That's required when you are working in gold, and you have to come up with data models in order to build like KPIs and aggregates and join data and build a dashboard, right?
Okay. I'm gonna now maybe let's say challenge you, or let's say question.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, let's say you have two projects. One project
Yes.
is to do, you have a messy data. The data
Yes.
are on the sources, and there is no data platform for it. And
Mhm.
you go to this project as a data engineer. So maybe you can spend 3-4 years just
Yes.
doing engineering stuff. Or there is another project where there's already data that is as a product, everything is prepared and ready and nice. And then the tasks are to do data science stuff. So which
Mm.
one you would pick and why?
That's a good question. That's a hard question. Mm, I think I think I would switch as well back to data science at some point because I'm just
I
very
knew it.
curious because the AI hype is so big and I'm just curious what the current state of the art is, right? So at some
Mm.
point, I think I will switch back, but currently it's just so fun to build those big data systems because what I really like is migrating big data systems. Like in the project, in the Mercedes project, right? When we
Mhm.
worked 3 years, I remember two big migrations that we did, right? Of the
Yes.
of the entire code base, the architecture, we completely changed it upside down, right? And
Yes, crazy.
doing doing those projects are like really fun to me because it's like a lot of work, but if you do it nicely, then you can be like pretty, yeah, proud of the new solution because I remember we were starting building up the data lake and then things got messy and we were thinking about coding conventions and naming conventions and had to redo everything, right? And we did it couple of times, right? And that's something I also liked about you when you were the product owner, that you were not afraid of big changes and challenging the solution, right? So every year we were asking, okay, how would the system look like if we were
Mhm.
able to build it again on a green field, right? And then we came up with a lot of ideas how to improve the system, and we took it seriously and actually, um, yeah, tried to lift it to the same to the next
Mhm.
level, right? And that's something that I really like. And with data engineering, you can restructure everything quite quickly. And
This
in
is very political answer, you are saying both. You have to decide. So you go for
yeah,
data science, right?
yeah, I would go for, like in your scenario, I think within 2 years I would try to go into data science again. But currently I'm so
Okay.
happy with the data engineering project that I would just stay, because it's so fun to migrate big systems.
I okay. All right. I'm gonna accept this. Maybe,
Do you
maybe
want to push me further?
no. I want to understand whether you are a real data engineer, or you are just spending some time with us as a data engineer, and then you do your own thing later. Maybe I'm gonna tell a little bit story for people because I think we mentioned a lot of things, yeah, about our project and stuff, but they maybe don't follow because only me and you know about it. So maybe
Mhm,
just a story about it, guys. Thing is, I joined around 2018 Mercedes-Benz, and I was data engineer there to, yeah, let's say migrate something. I cannot go in details.
mhm,
But then I thought, why I don't migrate this solution to the cloud? It
mhm,
was a data warehouse, and it was working with the on-prem. And then I thought,
mhm,
yeah, it is costly, running very slow, takes a lot of time. And if we migrate to another tool, it's gonna be something, let's say, yeah, it takes a lot of time and efforts. So I thought, why we don't just go to the cloud? It is really easy. I can
yes,
build there 3 environments with few clicks, and then I can build a whole warehouse there.
mhm,
It was not very traditionally to build data warehouses in the cloud. They were
mhm,
not, I think, not yet data bricks like now, and it was only like some tools from Azure, like the
mhm,
Synapse and as well the Data Factory. So I thought, okay, I'm going to make a POC. I'm going to take
mhm,
5 tables and then build the complete data warehouse on the cloud using Microsoft Azure. Then
mhm,
I made a POC, and then as well, the front end was Tableau. So I just migrated the top 3 reports to Tableau.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then everyone were really excited about the projects. I presented for a lot of managers and a lot of users say, hey, look, Tableau is amazing. Everything is
Yes.
fast. And it was not really costly because it was few tables, but
Mhm.
I made the POC and showed it to them. And a lot of people didn't believe about this at the start because they thought, yeah, it's
Mhm.
going to cost a lot when we bring the real data and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
then I start, let's say, you migrating one table after another one to the cloud. And then I understood, okay, I cannot do it alone. I need some support. And at this moment, Simon joined us in the
Mhm.
projects. We were only 2.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then Simon, I think you were at the start, yeah, with me on this. We had only like 9 tables, and we called it a data lake as well over the time. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it was not a lake house at the start. It was just like, I don't know, few folders. We just move the
Mhm.
data between folders and we call it data lake. But then after that, we saw that, okay, Databricks is an interesting tool
Mhm.
that is
Mhm.
fully integrated in the Azure. And then
Mhm.
we decided to go completely away from Azure, let's say
Yes.
from Synapse and Data Factory, and go full in the
Yes.
Databricks. Databricks
Yes.
was, I would say, not fully ready for such a project. So Simon did the first project by migrating from the old data lake, I called it 1.0, using files and stuff to go fully on the PySpark, using the Delta files, and as well with a lot of tables. So the
Mhm.
requirement was really huge because it's not anymore 9 tables, it was 100 of tables, and we were only like 3-4 people. And I
Mhm.
believe it was very challenging for Simon because um, um, let's say, or interesting for Simon because it was a big task and only for few people. Usually we do it with big teams. Then, yeah, we managed it together and we migrated completely to Databricks. And then after they saw it is working, then suddenly we got a lot of requests. Can you connect this
Mhm.
source system
Yes.
again? Another source system? Can you bring Kafka? So it was like we opened the door for a lot of requirements. And
Mhm.
it was, I think, we had the challenge, okay, we cannot do it anymore with 4 people. We have to expand.
Mhm.
And then a
Yes.
whole team from India joined us. It was like around 4 people joined us, and we start expanding until at the end we had like 20 people working with the project.
Yes. Yes.
And that's why the project did shift like 3-4
Yes.
times, where we completely redesigned the whole thing from the scratch.
Yes.
And because you can design a system for one system, or let's say a data lake house for one system, but once you get 10 systems, then you have to think about, okay, how I'm going to automate stuff, how I can
Mhm. Yes.
connect new tables, new sources very fast. And over the time, our role did change, of course. I had
Yes.
no more time, let's say, to develop things. And Simon as well, we have a lot of people in the project, and we had, let's say, to take care that everyone else is working perfectly. And now we come
Mhm.
to this point, Simon, you transitioned from, let's say, not transitioned, but you were just developing things to new role where you are actually mentoring others and you
Mhm.
are reviewing, let's say, the pull requests or the work from
Mhm.
the others to see
Yeah.
whether they are following our standards. So you moved
Mhm.
actually from just a developer to some kind of senior data engineer that is reviewing, mentoring, and only tackling complex tasks. So now
Mhm.
I believe during the reviews and checking the other people work, you
Mhm.
have understood a lot of things. You have understood the patterns, like what the junior data engineer make mistakes, what are the issues
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
I keep repeatedly find in the PySpark code
Mhm.
or in
Mhm.
Python. So you saw a lot of issues, and as you were reviewing the code, and I believe you had now a very, let's say, clear picture about what are the most frequently let's say, issue that you found in the
Yeah.
scripts from junior data engineers. Maybe you can give us some biggest mistake that you found
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
coding.
Yeah. Sure. I can do that. So basically, or maybe first of all, we have to talk about the mindset issue here before we talk about code, because many issues when working with juniors, have to do with the mindset, with the way of working, right? So when you uh, get into a team as a junior, you have to adapt to a new situation because suddenly you're working in a team, right? And you have to change your mindset. Maybe before you did some projects just on your own, but now you have a big team and you have to communicate a lot, right? That means that when you get a task, I've seen a lot of juniors who received the task and then they were like hiding in their little cave, right? And they were completely isolated and coding some stuff, taking 2 or 3 weeks, and then coming back and showing you a result, right?
Mhm.
That was completely off the mark. And
Yes.
it makes much more sense to understand the task correctly, to ask a lot of questions right in the beginning, and also to show intermediate results to your stakeholder. So if I
Ca-
give a junior a
Maybe
task,
can I ask you here? There is
yes,
like maybe here a little bit dilemma. Yeah, if you are
yes,
junior in new projects, you're gonna be afraid a little bit to ask because if you like this is what I was a junior as well. I was
yes,
in a student in company, and I was afraid of asking because if I ask a lot, I'm gonna show that I don't know, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna be annoying for the other senior developers or the experts because they are always busy, they are always looking in meetings and stuff,
mhm,
and I'm gonna be asked like afraid to ask them, so I'm gonna try maybe to hide and try to
mhm,
solve it on my own. But of
mhm.
course, if I don't ask, I will be as well generating problems and issues for later because we're gonna have a ping pong later, yeah. So what do you think about this? Because I find it as well hard, yeah, for juniors to keep asking stuff. It depends, yeah,
Yeah,
on who you ask.
yeah. The thing is how you're asking questions. So you could ask in an annoying way and you can ask in a good way, right? So an
Okay.
annoying way of asking questions would be, how should I do XYZ? Like, please give me all the steps that I need to do to achieve a goal, right? This is a bad way of asking. Like, because when you ask very granular questions about every step you need to take, then the senior guy can do it himself, right? It doesn't make much sense, but it makes more sense to ask like general questions, right? So when you receive a task, you can ask, okay, what's the purpose of the task? Which problems does it solve? Who are the stakeholders? And these are like very obvious questions, and I as a senior ask these questions a lot as well, right? When somebody gives me a task, when somebody asks me to to ingest some data into the lake, I always ask a set of questions. I ask, okay, who needs the data? Like, who are the stakeholders? I ask questions like, is it like big data? Are we talking about just a few megabytes, or are we talking about terabytes of data? Are
Mhm.
we talking about historical data or just the current data? Or if it's not historical data, do you want me to build a history in the data lake? Or I would ask, okay, is it like machine generated data? Or is it like human generated data? Is it like sensitive data with email addresses in there that
Mhm.
we maybe have to hide? So all these questions come to mind. And even as a senior, you have to ask a lot of questions. It's just normal. It's part of your job. So don't be afraid to ask these kind of questions. Don't ask like granular steps, but ask about the context. Why is this task important? And when somebody says, okay, please onboard hundreds of tables, then ask, okay, which tables are the most important ones? Because you always have like just 5 tables that everyone needs, and all the others are like nice to have, right?
Oh
So
my god, you.
focus
Mm.
on the most important tables, and do a little POC onboard just one table, and then try to scale to load 5 tables at a time and then focus on the rest, right? But asking questions is so crucial, even if you are experienced, right? Don't be afraid to ask questions. And you will soon realize what are good questions and which questions are a little bit annoying. That's something that you will realize in the job. I will promise you.
You need to see the reaction of the face. Um, well, I totally agree with you. We have to keep asking questions, but
Yeah,
not repeating the same question, for example, yeah, over and
yeah,
over, and as well to find the right moment. There is a lot of like I think as we do dailies, yeah. we go and meet every day, this is a perfect time to ask questions. And as
Yes.
well, maybe to write it down, in usually we get a Jira ticket and we write our questions. So it's as well nice place to write questions in the Jira, or maybe prepare, yeah, so that you prepare 5 6 questions and put it in a batch to someone and ask
Mhm.
about it, not like I have one more question and one more question, so I think it
Mhm.
is you have to ask questions, as Simon says, but you have to find a way on how to communicate the questions and how to get the answers. Not to communicate it in the worst way, yeah, or in the worst time where, let's say, your senior or your manager is
Mhm.
super
Mhm.
busy at the end of the day, before everyone goes back to home, and then you go, I still have one question before you leave. This is
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
the worst.
exactly. Yeah, or set up a meeting. Just ask them, okay, I have a collection of questions. Can we meet on the next day?
Mhm.
Just 15 minutes or half an hour. And good. And another example for good questions are where your supervisor realized that you made your own thoughts, right? You can, when you get a task, you can write down steps that you want to take in order to achieve the goal. And then you can write down the steps and present them to them and ask them, okay, do you think this is a good way of approaching the problem? Or do you think it's a bad way? Do you have some other ideas how to solve the problem? And then you get, yeah, better ideas, and you can make sure that you go to the right direction, that you're not completely missing the target, right? That also
Y-
makes
you
a lot
know
of sense.
You know what, Simon? Like I left 3 months ago, but I believe it was like years ago now. I'm getting all the vibes and the stuff as we work together. As now we are at the work, we are now in
You have
teams
like a
and we are discussing stuff.
backflash.
I forget, really, I forget all about those stuff. Just 3 months, and I'm now just making YouTube and videos, courses, and I forget about all those issues. So now
Yeah.
I'm bringing you and me back, yeah, to those to those moments. But now I want from you to hear from you the mistakes that technically people do, yeah, maybe coding, or let's say not only the mindsets,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
issues that's or some stuff like maybe in Python, because we used a lot of Python, yeah, in our project by
Yes.
Spark. Which topic you feel that people should really learn those stuff? Yeah, it could
Yeah.
be anything like clean coding, or maybe some topics like functions, or what are the things that you saw? Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to improve on this.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, three things come to mind. The first thing is pretty obvious. It's the issue of spaghetti code, right? Spaghetti code is like very messy. It looks like spaghetti, and you don't know. Like when you try to debug the code, it's really hard to know where to look. Like in my point of view, code should be structured in a way like a good newspaper, right? When
Mhm.
you open a newspaper, you can see big headlines, smaller headlines, and then sections with details, right? And when you step back and look at the newspaper as a whole, you can directly see where the important topics are, right? So when
Mhm.
you have a modular way of structuring your code, right? You try to write functions that only do one thing. You call those functions in different places. Sometimes you might want to write a class or a data class. Um, when you structure your code this way, then you can also unit test your functions, and then you have a nice structure that's also maintainable, right? So when I started off and I started yeah, learning coding on my own, I wrote a lot of spaghetti code, and I saw a lot of seniors as well in projects who wrote spaghetti code. So writing clean code is actually a skill that is really hard to earn, right? You really
Yes.
have to practice it. And yeah, that's something that I've seen in many projects. I've seen projects where they have built like a data pipeline in one notebook, and then the next person who wanted to build another pipeline just copied the notebook and then changed some
Oh my
parameters and
god.
added a little bit code, and then copied the notebook again and again and again. And I've seen
I
projects
hate
where we
this.
had like more than 30 data sources, and when I entered the project, there was like an obvious bug in there, and the bug was distributed across the entire code base because everyone was just copying and pasting code, right? They were
It's
repeating
something,
themselves.
yeah, it's something that I saw, like, not only once. I saw many times people do this. It's like, I think the biggest issue with this is that during the projects, there should be a moment where they have to do it like us. They have to meet
Yes,
all, look at their code, and criticize it. You see, you know what? This is bad. This is like repetition. Let's make a new function. Let's make like the structure of the project differently. And you
yes,
have to start criticizing. You have to do retrospective about the code and let's say do housekeeping, because
yes,
yeah, there is endless points why it's bad to keep copying the same code over
yes,
and over.
exactly.
And this is something happens a lot in data engineering, because it is really easy. You know what, I
Yes,
onboarded, let's say, this API, and
yes,
I loaded like 10 files, and then I got requirements to do the same but in different URL. So now what I
mhm,
do, I copy the whole code
yes,
and I just change the URL, and I say, oh, you know
yes,
what, I'm done. But now
yeah,
guess what? This code gonna die after, I don't know, yeah, 1 year, 2 years, because no one can maintain this. No one, unless you are planning to leave the project later. but but this is really deadly. Yeah, you have always to
yes,
think about it. I repeated myself. Wait, give me
yes,
time. I'm gonna refactor myself.
yes,
I'm gonna maybe put one code and just put one variable. You know, it's not about object oriented or
yeah,
making crazy stuff. Like, it's just adding variable could be, right? And
yeah,
then just
parameters.
make it and make things like dynamic. Yeah. But
Mm,
this is something that a lot of
yes,
people, they want speed. You know, I don't care
yes,
how my project's gonna look like in 2 years, 3 years. I
yes,
might leave or whatever. Especially people that are deciding, yeah, for the projects. They
yes,
can't make decisions, so they don't care about this. They just want speed and make the, let's say, the stakeholder happy,
mhm,
and no one is thinking about the next. That's why we
mhm,
spent, by the end of the year, always time, we sat together, we criticize, you know what, we are doing this really bad in the operations. Our pipeline, when something breaks, it takes us like half day to understand where the data is missing.
yes,
So we
yes,
really criticized a lot, and we tried always to find a window in the sprints just
mhm,
to housekeep, to
mhm,
improve. And this is something that no one gonna ask you for. Like, no one, like, no
mm,
manager, or let's say from stakeholders, gonna come to you and tell you,
yeah,
you have to do housekeeping for your code. This is my requirement for. No one gonna
yeah,
tell
yes,
you. This is your responsibility as an engineer. Yeah, to convince as well the others. Hey, I'm getting now a lot of requirements for this, but still we have in the backlog, we have to do housekeeping. So you have to convince as well stakeholders why you are doing this, because we are paid to do those stuff. So once you say, I'm going to be an engineer or someone that's do coding, you have as well to do it in clean way. Yes, speed is good, but still we
yeah,
have to bring quality, because it is really annoying. Because if you do this, you can maybe leave after 2 years to new projects, but the people, the
mhm,
new incomers to the project, they're going to suffer. They will be having hard time maintaining the code. And yeah, it is, I really hate it. I saw it a lot, and now you brought it, and it's
mm,
something bad for the company, bad for the developer that joined the projects. So it's a lot of like waste
mm,
of money, right?
yes, exactly. So, and that's a good argument when you have to talk to a manager and justify why you want to refactor the entire code base, because it's just more scalable, right? When you have clean code,
Hmm.
it's easier to bring new data sources in, right? When you have like a proper
Yes.
framework with functions, and your notebooks are not just hard-coded notebooks anymore, but your pipeline has like configuration files that are
Yes.
easy to understand, then it's just plug and play, right? When you get a new pipeline, you just write a config file and the rest is already implemented, right?
Yeah, same goes for comments, yeah, and documentations. Because I believe a lot
Yes.
of people are gonna think, okay, I'm gonna write comments for my colleague or for the one that is reviewing. It's actually for me as well, because after two
Mm.
weeks, I'm gonna forget about this. Like, I need a reminder. I'm writing it for my future me, right?
Yes,
Those
exactly.
comments and documentations. A lot of people think this is something, the manager, or let's say the project lead is asking about it, I have to do it in this
Mm.
project to write documentations or comments. Actually, it's as well for you, yeah?
Yeah, and just one tip about comments. I think there are bad comments and good comments in the code. So in my view, a bad comment tells you what the code is doing, right? But a good comment tells you why the code is implemented in that way, right? Because what the code is doing is an information that's already in the code, right? If the code is written
Yes.
cleanly, then it's very obvious what the code is doing, right? But
Yes.
sometimes you have to apply some workarounds, and you don't have to, and sometimes you cannot do the obvious solution, but you have to implement like a hack. Maybe the hack is a little bit dirty, then you can comment, okay, technical debt, we have to change it later. Or if you have like a good workaround, then you have to write, okay, why you did it. You can write down in a comment your two approaches that you tried that didn't work for some reason, and then you can explain why the third option is the one you have chosen. And this is something that doesn't, the code doesn't tell you why certain things are done, but the code tells you already what is going on, right? What kind of algorithm is implemented here. And this is also true, like when you're working with AI and you have like a chatbot that generates a doc string or comments. The chatbot doesn't know why you did it that way, right? That's something that you have to come up with yourself, right?
Nice.
That's maybe
Simon,
one point
maybe,
about comments. Yeah.
yes, totally agree on this. I'm gonna move to another point.
Mhm.
We're gonna dive a little bit in your mind. I called you senior data engineer. I believe you are totally an expert, yeah, on this. Now, I remember in my project, if there is something complex, I can count on Simon to do it. So now there is always like, I look to the backlog. Yeah, there are complex stuff, there are easy stuff. I try to put
Mhm.
this easy stuff maybe a little bit to the juniors. I try from time to time to challenge the juniors to do complex stuff, but when I give Simon like a complex task, it is 100% that's going to come with quality and the expected result. So now you got a complex task. Like for example, let's say that we don't have Kafka in our
Mhm. Mhm.
in our data lake house, and you know what? I tell you, you know what? We have to connect it. It's first time we are doing it,
Mhm. Mhm.
and there's a lot of complex topics and stuff. So
Mhm.
I push to you this task. So how you tackle complex tasks in projects? Like this is an example. You can take another example, of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah. I I think the first point is really comes down to a positive mindset first. Like when you get like a really hard task, I think it's good to have like a positive mindset and to think about, oh, what would it feel like to have a good solution, right? A solution that I can be proud of. So don't be afraid, but think about, yeah, the future. Think about how it will feel like when you solve the task, right? Because to be honest, every time I get like a really hard task where somebody tells me that he doesn't know how to do it or doesn't know if it's working at all, then I'm getting more motivated because I'm like really into it, right? And that helps me also to own the task because I'm thinking like, oh, I want it so bad because it's like a big challenge, right? So having a positive mindset helps a lot. And when it comes to your example, the Kafka example, I remember that when you gave this requirement to ingest Kafka data into our data lake, we didn't have access to the Kafka broker yet, right?
Yeah.
And it actually took a couple of weeks. And if you work in a big company, so you sometimes have to talk to the admins of the source system, and you are like the progress is delayed, right? And my recommendation is always to not waste any time while you're waiting for access, right? So what I did is installing Kafka on my local machine. So I used Docker and I just downloaded a Docker image and played around with Kafka. So I started building knowledge, like reading the documentation of Kafka, understanding the fundamentals, and then getting my hands dirty immediately, right? downloading the Docker image, ingesting data into Kafka, reading data from Kafka, looking how does the system behave? Is there any delay? When I read data from Kafka into another system, how does the data arrive? Does it arrive as a JSON structure, or does it arrive as a table, or does it arrive in a nested structured way that has a schema and things like that? So I started to get my hands dirty and played around with the system immediately just on my local machine, because the thing is, your local Kafka broker is similar to the big Kafka cluster in your company. I see the question, what is Kafka?
Yes. I just showed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so basically Kafka is a message broker. That means that you can send messages into the system, and it's designed to scale, to distribute a lot of data live in your company. So one example would be, let's say you have a lot of stores, and the stores have a lot of, what's the German word for Kasse? Like a check.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Let me check what the
Cashier.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm not used to, like, a checkout, right? You have a
Okay.
checkout, and in the checkout, you get like a little you get like a little snippet that tells you what you have bought, right? You get a little snippet, right? And this is like very valuable information for companies, and you can take that data and push it into Kafka live,
Yes.
right? And so when you read data from Kafka, you can always get the latest messages that you have not seen before, right? So you can, it's also designed to make good delta loads or incremental loads, because you can always get like the freshest data available that you haven't seen before. So it's not like a relational database. It's more designed to, yeah, somebody says checkout. Yeah, it's more designed to distribute big amount of data in a very fast way live. And back to your question, you asked me, okay, how do I
Yes.
go about it? Tackling those challenges, how to work with new technologies. I always try to get my hands dirty, try to get a Docker image or something like that, or install it directly on my laptop and play around with it, get my hands dirty, go back to the documentation and iterate between those two steps. Getting my hands dirty, reading the docs, getting my hands dirty, reading the docs. Because when you get your hands dirty and try things out, new questions arise that get answered by the documentation. And when you read the documentation, you will see new features that you haven't tried yet. So you go back to your laptop. And that saved me a lot of time while we were waiting in the project to access the real broker. I was able to have just my tiny local broker on my laptop to actually get a grip on the technology. And then when we had access to the real broker, we were able to read the topics pretty fast, like the data pretty fast. And it was, yeah, pretty good.
I like I totally agree about this because
Mhm.
like I remember as I was in the university, if I want to learn something, I have to hear it from, let's say, a professor, or I take a course or something about it. But as you go in the teams or projects, once you get something complex and something
Mhm.
that you never heard before, yeah, because I believe, Simon, I don't know whether it's correct, it's where your first contact to Kafka, right? At this time, you
Yes.
didn't before apply Kafka to any data engineering project. So this is how it works.
Mhm.
If like once you got the basic idea on how to do data engineering, you're gonna maybe spend a lot of time learning the first tool. But once you go into like to the projects and you got something completely new, Simon didn't go and take a course about Kafka. He just opened the documentation and he just made a POC. So that means he was just trying and error, doing try and error and reading documentations. And that was his first time like reading about Kafka. So this is how it happens. Like for example, it's as I moved from one technology to the Azure, I didn't make
Yes.
courses on how to work with the Azure. I just opened the Microsoft documentations. Everything is there. I just have to search and then play with the data. I bring like one
Yes.
CSV, two CSVs, and just play with the data. Same things happen as we go to Databricks.
Yes.
It's the same jump. We have to do POC. I have to close the door, take my time just playing with the tool. It's just practicing. POC means I take some sample data
Mhm.
and I open the tool and I start doing a lot of mistakes and playing around with the UI and maybe trying to load something and see how long it takes, try something else, increase the cluster, reduce the
Mhm.
cluster. He's just playing with the data and reading documentation. And this is the
Yes.
only way to learn something new. You don't need really
Yes.
courses. You don't need, like, of course, at the start, if it's first time I'm hearing about, for example, Python,
Yes.
maybe I'm going
Yes.
to read a book about it or take a course. But as you go to the companies and start working from one project to another,
Mm.
you're going to jump very easily from one platform to another by
Yes.
just practicing. And this is what he was doing in the project. He, of course, told me, yeah, as he got, for example, this complex task, I'm going to try out a few things and then we talk about it later. So he just closed the door and start getting his hand dirty, practicing. POC means practicing. As I practice, I collect points. I know, okay, this point, it is bad, this point is good. And then he comes, for example, to the project and start discussing, you know what,
Mm.
Kafka is amazing. It's very fast. I
Mm.
was able to stream this and this. So he is building his own knowledge by playing with the data, with the tool, and at the same time reading the official documentations. And I believe,
Mm.
especially for the modern tools, they have really amazing documentations. Like if I go now to
Mm.
Microsoft documentations about any tool, yeah,
Mm.
they are really written with examples and guides step by step. The same thing if you go to Databricks, yeah, or to Kafka. So everything is really well documented, and
Mm.
even seniors, yeah, or experts, they have to play with the data. They have to
Yes.
get their hand dirty and
Yes.
practice. And this is the only way to gain knowledge. And after 3 weeks, I don't know, Simon, you had some knowledge about Kafka, right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
didn't take courses. You didn't go to Udemy to
Yeah.
to take some courses and stuff. Maybe you can do that, but you trust more if you did do it on your own. You're gonna trust more
Yes.
than knowledge than hearing someone like or watching someone doing the let's say the Kafka for you, because there will
Yes.
be questions not covered in the course. Yeah,
Yes.
so that means it is the best way to tackle any big problem, to have
Mm.
some window to try this out and document as well what worked, what didn't work, and then
Yes.
talk to it
Exactly.
to the project, right?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. I can just highlight it because, yeah, in your career, you have to learn new technologies all the time. So developing this skill of learning a new system is like very, very crucial. And at some points, the systems will be very similar. Like if you are used to Databricks and then you have to work with Microsoft Fabric or with Snowflake or whatever, Palantir Foundry, then you will notice that platforms are pretty similar, right? On the surface level, they look pretty different, right? But on a fundamental level, they are very similar because every data engineering platform needs a way to schedule tasks, right? It needs some way of monitoring data. So the same features, the fundamentals are actually pretty similar in those
Mhm.
platforms. And that also
Yeah.
makes it easier to learn new technologies.
Yes, it is not a BOC, it is POC. It's like I have some pronunciation. I cannot really pronounce correctly.
Like
It is
proof
POC,
of
proof of
concept.
concept.
Yeah.
Proof of concept, guys. It's something that we do a lot. If we once we face something hard and we have some struggle with new technology, we say, "I'm gonna do now a POC. I'm gonna try this out and prove that is something good to the project and whether it's gonna work." Because you cannot
Yes.
immediately and apply it, yeah, to the
Mm.
production. Maybe it will break something else. So you have to do POC. You have to see the results, and then once everything is okay, then you go to production and starts planning the real
Mhm.
implementation. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's just try and error, collecting knowledge and documenting, what you have learned about.
Yes.
Now, Simon, maybe let's go a little bit to the career, yeah, about data engineering. Now, um, you said you learned on your own, yeah, data engineering topics. But now we are 2026. If someone wants to become a data engineer, fresh, from scratch, I heard about it today from the stream, something interesting. Can you say what are the most important three skills maybe that's I have to focus on to learn at the start to get my to go on the way to be a data engineer?
Yeah. Like from a technical point of view, I would say, and maybe you can correct me, it would be interesting to hear from you as well. I think a key skill is SQL. You have to learn SQL. There's no way around it. SQL. And I would say, like, when it comes to big data technologies, PySpark is something that I see everywhere in most of the projects. I think it's good to have solid Python skills as well, right? Not just PySpark, PySpark syntax, but real Python knowledge, right? You have to know the fundamentals, like what is a dictionary, what is a list, how do I loop through it, and things like that. I think you made videos on it as well, right? And I think it's very important. And yeah, the ability to write clean code. And I think one skill or one thing that I also saw with juniors who are just starting off is to rely too much on AI. Like I had
Mhm.
one guy, he had to come up with a data model in order to build a report, and he had discussions with the business department, and they were explaining to him um, what the data transformations should look like, right? And he didn't 100% understand it, how to implement it. So he asked the AI and it got like a huge chunk of code and tried it out. And he was
Lots of emojis and
frustrated.
icons, right?
So he was kind of frustrated and came up to me and told me he couldn't debug it. And by discussing the code with him, I could tell that he didn't understand the fundamentals. He didn't understand what a group by is. He didn't understand what a partition by is. He didn't understand like aggregation functions and how to join data and stuff like that. So he was pretty much lost because he didn't have the fundamentals right. And I think you have to have a knowledge where I can wake you up in the middle of the night and you can write a query like right away on the from the top of your head without googling, without asking the AI. I think it has to be very internal. It has to be your language. You have to speak it fluently, right? I think that's something that's if you really want to be good, you have to do it, right? And another thing um, that's also a very important skill when you talk to business departments. That's something it's like very obvious. Like the trick I'm going to tell you now is like very obvious, but I think it's like most of the most important skill of all, right? It's understanding requirements. So when I talk to business people and they tell me about KPIs that they want to see in the dashboard and they tell me about complicated metrics and stuff like that, I do a very dumb trick and it always works. I just share my screen and open stupid Excel, right? And then I type in some dummy data and ask them, okay, is this what you have in mind when you talk about sales data? Does it look like that? Does it have a time column? Does it does it have like a store column and stuff like that? Then I type in some dummy data and then I ask them, okay, what is the aggregate metric that you want from me, right? And then I type in another tiny table that says aggregates, and then I write down the the values that they want to see. And I
Yes.
by typing in dummy data, I can always check with them, okay, is the calculation correct, right? Just on an Excel sheet. And then the picture becomes clearer and clearer also for them because sometimes they don't even know what they were asking for. Sometimes they were asking for a certain implementation that they then realize when you discuss it in detail doesn't work, right? And then they switch their requirements. So opening your screen, drawing boxes, writing dummy data into an Excel sheet is so helpful because then you understand requirements correctly. And I think that's like a core skill. There's no way
Yeah.
to get around it. Like, Bara, what do you think?
I totally agree because I believe our job is not it's not the hardest thing is to write a script. The hardest
Yes.
thing is to understand it. That's why our requirements it's one of the worst requirements that we get, yeah, because no one can explain for a data engineer what they should do exactly. You get a requirement like maybe one sentence, so you have to take this sentence and try to dig deeper what is exactly needed, what they mean with this. That's why it is as well one of the soft skills, yeah, we need as a data engineers as well to communicate as he's explaining, yeah, in very simple sketches, to try to understand what
Yes.
is meant with this sentence that you have. And I believe we spend 70% analyzing things. Like I've sketched stuff for the work. I have like a lot of papers. Yeah, as I left Mercedes-Benz, I have in my in as I was leaving, I had like a lot of papers, and I was just like browsing. Yeah, what I've written. So a lot of things. We spend a lot of time just analyzing things before implementing. Implementing gonna be the easiest part. The thing is, if you skip analyzing this phase, the 70%, yeah, of our work, and just jump immediately to the coding,
Mm.
you're gonna 100% make mistakes, and you can 100% waste more time later, yeah, correcting it. And the thing is, this is very important thing as data engineers. If we provide data for others, we are data providers. We provide clean data for analytics, for AI, for data scientists and stuff.
Mm.
And if we provide, let's say, mistakes and issues in the data, we lose trust. And losing trust,
Yes.
it is the worst that could happen, because
Yes.
people are gonna be anxious about this. If they use the data to do analysis and at the end the data was wrong, they will never trust you again with the data, and they're gonna keep asking you, "Did you really check again? Did you? I think your data is completely wrong." Yeah, so they're gonna question question a lot about your data, and you break the trust between you
Mm.
and the users of the data. And this is something very crucial,
Mm.
to make sure to be calm down and slow and analyze and only provide what is exactly needed, and
Yes.
don't break the trust, yeah, with the people that use your data. Otherwise they're going to write you every day, tell you your data is wrong, even though that your data is correct, but you just
Yeah.
lost the trust. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I believe it, just be structured, take your time, explain, ask questions, and write it, draw a concept, flow chart, whatever. At the
Mm.
end, write the script. And one thing maybe I don't totally agree, that we don't have to memorize the syntax now for Python or SQL or stuff like
Mm.
that. You just have to understand how things works. I
Mm.
just have to understand how the functions works, how I can, I don't know, loop through a dictionary. But if you don't memorize it 100%, I think it's fine, because
Mm.
you can ask the AI then, where is the syntax issue? I think most of the tools now gives you an AI assistance, yeah, to fix your
Mm.
syntax. And that's why I focus as well a lot. I don't know, Simon, whether it's correct.
Mhm.
I focus a lot when I make a course. I don't focus on the syntax. I focus more on
Yeah.
how it works, because once it's stuck in your head, then you can always
Mm.
understand, okay, what is the difference between dictionary and a list, and when to use
Mm.
what. This is the
Mm.
skill that is needed, not how, like, I can write immediately the syntax of the dictionary. I'm
Yes.
very fast writing syntax. You have to understand when to use what. And this is, I think, the most
Mm.
confusing things. If you learn a new programming language, you're gonna learn a lot of concepts, and you're gonna think, okay, when I'm gonna use all those stuff in the project. So it's really important to read. Or if you're asking AI, ask AI, okay, when should I use dictionary compared to the list? Always ask this question.
Mm.
I think it is yeah, more important than memorizing in our head the syntax, because it's not. I believe it's not that needed, right?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. On the one hand, so it's like a diplomatic answer. But
Yeah.
on the one hand, when the AI gives you a big chunk of code, you need to understand and verify if that makes any sense, right? And if you are completely lost and don't have the fundamentals down, you cannot really evaluate. You have to blindly trust what the API spits out, right? And that's also not good. So yeah, I would say, yeah, having fundamental concepts really good down is very important, as you said, but also, yeah, have a basic good understanding of the programming language in order also to evaluate what the AI is spitting you out. Because sometimes the
Mhm.
AI spits out, yeah, garbage, and of course the AI is getting better and better over time, but you still have to be in control at the end, and you have to be responsible for the code, right? It's not the AI. You
Yes.
cannot blame the AI at the end, you know?
I
You
would
have
say,
to own it.
sorry, I would say, Simon, let's make the AI as a topic for maybe another session because there's a lot of thoughts. Yeah, how to
Yeah,
use AI in projects, whether it's
yeah.
going to replace us. I think there will be a lot of questions about it. Maybe I'm going to go one last topic
Mhm,
or question, and then we go to the questions. Yeah, because I believe people have questions that are collecting over the time.
mhm.
Now, maybe as a data engineer or as you were doing projects, what was the biggest mistake that you have done? now, now we are not anymore on the project, okay?
The
I'm
biggest
not
mistake
there
in your project or in general?
in my project. No, no. The biggest mistake that you have
Yeah,
done that you wish that you
honestly,
knew before. Yeah.
honestly, and this comes now. I'm becoming a little bit more open, maybe because I'm I'm becoming vulnerable now,
What?
right? I would say that the biggest issue has to some degree to do also with my personality, because I tend to be like a people pleaser. I try to say yes to everyone, right?
Hmm.
So in one project somebody wants something from me, and in another project there's a requirement, and people are, yeah, giving a lot of requirements to me, and my biggest challenge is to say no at some point, because you have
Hmm.
to be careful. Like if you do your job really well, people will know about it, and then you will get a lot of requirements, and it can be overwhelming to be on too many projects at the same time, especially when the projects are not related. When you have a context switch, like a really hard context switch between one project and another project. And if you say yes too many times, then you will get into a really bad situation where you might burn out and you have just too much to do, right?
Hmm.
And that's not helpful for you. And it's also not helpful for the others, because your stakeholders who give tasks to you will notice that you are not 100% dedicated, that you cannot deliver in the expected quality,
Hmm.
and that means that you really have to know also when to say no. I'm not saying that as a junior you have to say no to everyone. That doesn't make any sense, right? I'm talking
Yes, of
about
course.
a situation where you are like a senior, and you just have a lot of projects going on at the same time. And it's very important that when you notice this bad situation, that you build up other people, that you hand-on knowledge to other people so they can move the projects forward. Sometimes it's really hard to find good people, but you have to try it, right, in order to get out of those situations.
Uh, Listen, Simon, I ask you this question because I find that a lot of people are celebrating wins all the time.
Yeah,
We can sit here and talk about a lot of things that we are proud of and show off, but I think we have to. I learn more from mistakes. I like to hear the mistakes from other people so that I learn as well from them. Now, I learned, yeah, about saying no sometimes, yeah, for example. So that's why I asked this question. It's not, I'm not trying to trick you to anything, but I think it's
yeah,
always, we are hearing a lot of achievements in LinkedIn everywhere, like everyone's celebrating, oh, I've made this and stuff. But of course, I can ask you what is the most achievement that you have done, not in my project, or let's say something that you are really proud of that you have done. And then I can talk about my mistakes. If there anything in your mind or
yeah,
something that you feel very proud, you say, yes, I'm happy I have decided for this.
yeah. But maybe let me emphasize the point again, about saying no. I ended up actually in a situation where a stakeholder was like really angry as well, right? I'm not talking about you, Bara, but I remember
You
situations
never
where
say no for
stakeholders
me.
got really angry, right? You don't want to be
Mhm,
in these kind of situations where things get escalated, especially when you are like a software provider, like when you are a
mhm,
service provider. There's a lot of money involved, right? When you develop something for other companies, you really have to know when to say yes and when to say no. It's just very crucial for yourself. It's also crucial for the stakeholders and for others.
mhm.
And yeah, you were asking about something to be proud of. Yeah, I could tell a story, but it might get too complicated. Maybe it gets too complicated.
Yeah, you should not answer. It's fine. We can leave it later. It's fine.
Then let's leave that question to
Yeah,
another meeting.
another session.
Yeah.
Maybe I can say one of my things that I really struggled, or let's say big mistakes or mindset that I had. Um, I used if I have like a project or something that I want to do everything on my own, and I had like zero trust with the
Mhm.
others to give them their tasks. I was saying, okay, I'm gonna take all the tasks, give me everything, and I will do it. And I never understood the power of delegation of work, you know?
Mhm.
So I at the start I was transitioning from
Mhm.
two-man projects to 20. Okay.
Mhm.
So that was really my struggle that I didn't understand earlier. That if I delegate, I'm actually scaling, and how to delegate, yeah, how to delegate, how to give others job. Like if I have this very important tasks, I will not give it always to me
Mhm.
or to Simon. Maybe I have to
Mhm.
challenge as well some junior developers. Like
Mhm.
maybe people understand me wrongly. I'm not trying to say complex tasks goes to the senior developers and easy stuff goes to the juniors, because they will never learn this. But to learn how to delegate correctly and how to challenge as well the others and how to trust to delegate. And this made my life later really easier in the projects. And this is
Mhm.
something that I really struggled off, and I didn't understood what is the benefit of delegating work. It's just I'm wasting
Mhm.
time if I give my task to another person, because at the end I'm gonna do it on my own. Like even if they solve the task, I'm gonna take it back and then rewrite the whole script.
Mhm.
So that was, I think, a big mistake on my head, and
Mhm.
something that I wish I understood why delegating is power actually
Mhm.
as a lead. And yeah, I think technically one of the things that I made mistakes is that at the start I wanted to bring all data from the whole company to my project.
Mhm.
I we connected thousands, yeah, of tables and stuff, but I understood it's not about collecting data in data lake. It's about making it later clean and make a useful data product for the others.
Mhm.
So I had the mindset, okay, now I have sheep tool, sheep storage. We can scale perfectly with the data bricks. Now I'm gonna bring everything to my data lake, and I think
Yeah.
that was a big issue because I brought a lot of things. Remember, but at the
Mhm.
end in the gold layer we were struggling because we cannot understand all those tables. Yeah, so it was as well mistake that we bring only what is really needed for analytics and AI, and then do it step by step. It's not
Mhm.
about I want to collect everything. So those is as well
Yeah.
one of the big mistakes. Yeah. Now I would say um, that was a nice chat with you. I think, Simon, I can spend some hours, yeah, just talking to you. It is really easy and it is really fun because we had really like, I think it was one of my highlights, yeah, working with Simon in the project. And I think was one of the best projects that I have done, and
Mhm.
I'm really happy, yeah, to have him here. I wish I can bring more over the time, or Simon, you join us in more sessions, because this really helps a lot of people. They hear about those real experience, yeah, from projects. um, if you check the social media, as I said at the start, yeah, it's all about tools, how to do this, but it's not about stories, yeah, about the data, what was the mistakes and the mindset. It's really important to share the mindset, yeah, from experts like you. So that's why I'm really excited about it. Now I'm gonna say let's have Q&A. I'm gonna pick a
Mhm.
few questions from the chat. Now I am using new software for streaming, so I can highlight it in the chat. And Simon, you can just pick the one that you want to answer. We answer them together, right? So now,
Yeah.
guys, if you have questions, just put this in the chat, and we're gonna have trying to answer it. I think there's a few seconds delay until, or you can tell me to pick something. You are reading the chat, right, Simon?
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Okay, maybe this one here. If you do from Black Soul, by the way, thank you so much, Black Soul. He's one of our moderators, and he is helping me a lot with the Discord community and as well here moderating the chat. So if you would like to do a personal project on data engineering now, how would you choose the data? Plan everything to get hired. This is something, of course, Simon, a lot of people now are struggling because the market situation, I don't know whether you know or you noticed, is really horrible, for new people. Especially now, no one, like, it's really struggle. It's not like before we applied like maybe 40 times, 30 times, and you get hired. Now you have to stand out the crowd. And I always recommended to do personal project, to do project, because to prove to the others I can do things. Not only I have certificate of Databricks. So now, maybe, would you like to answer this, Simon? What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I can just tell you what I did. So I had a friend who was doing like a PhD, and she had to do like a study and analyze data as well. So she was in the field of language. So she was not a data person. She was not an IT person, but she was just analyzing languages, right? And so she had to come up with experiments and also to analyze those experiments. And she had like clients that had to sit in front of a computer, listen to audio, and then write answers down. And she just couldn't know how to manage this, because she had to invite all the people to her house and then play some audio to them, and then they had to write answers. And I told her, okay, let's make an app. Why don't we just make an app to make your life easier, right? So I developed an app with her, and just posted it or deployed it on AWS. And it was an amazing experience. I never did it before, right? And also uploading the audio files and analyzing the data afterwards.
Cool.
It was just a very cool project, right? And at the end, maybe you also have the chance to write a paper about it, right? And these are kind of projects that stand out a lot, because these are not just projects where you play around with data, but a project where you are creating actual value for a person. So you can ask around in your in your university if there are any students who do a PhD and need IT support, or you can ask in your environment if you have people who have IT problems, and you can try to help them, because then you're more motivated as well, because you are actually helping someone and you're not just working with dummy data. But if that's not the case, I would just brainstorm a little bit and crawl data from the web and try to come up with an interesting question, right? Crawl data from the web, like energy data, and trying to predict some energy data, something like that. Because then you need to know how to use an API, how to call the API, how to clean up the data from the response of the API, how to train a machine learning model, how to test the predictions and things like that, right? Just be creative and choose something that interests you. Like if the data is not interesting to you, then leave it. Like do something that you are kind of passionate about, right?
Nice. I'm going to take another question. Maybe I'm going to pick this one. How can you prepare for interviews? Now, of course, Would you like to answer it, Simon, or should I?
Go ahead first.
Okay. It's depend which level, because currently there are like different levels on how you go through the interview. If you are interviewing HR, you should be prepared a little bit different than maybe a manager or maybe a project team. So now I'm going to say, if you are interviewing or you have an interview with non-technical people, you have to try to explain, let's say, your story end to end without using a lot of terms, you know? So for example, if I go now and apply for a new job, let's say the YouTube thing is not working for me, I go back to the market. I'm gonna apply for a job and maybe I got interviewed. So I'm gonna tell them about me as a story. I'm gonna tell them the story about maybe building the projects of Lake House in Databricks as a story. Yeah, we started like this, then there was a new requirement, and then we scaled, and then a lot of people joined, and then new struggles. So I'm gonna tell them end to end a story, and I'm gonna learn how to tell this story. So maybe I talk to my try to explain the story to my wife or to someone from your friends. Try to practice this. I practice to tell my story. So if I go there, I'm going to tell it frequently, and I can explain it so that everyone can understand it, and they understand that I can solve problems. The most important thing with the interview is that to show that they can count on you. You can build things. You can do the job. It's not about the character or how you speak, or let's say like that. So they want to trust you. They give you the task and you can do the job. So try to explain it like this and to show some ownership, you know, that
Yes.
even if now times goes back as a junior, I'm going to tell them I made a Git repository. I saw some data, like now Simon is explaining. Then I built using a free account from Databricks, data lake house using this. So I try to tell a story, whether it is a real from previous experience or from personal project that you have done. And if I have an interview with technical people, I might revisit some concept. Like if I know they do the project using PySpark. So I'm going to revisit the PySpark, maybe most important concept, try to read about it. Try, if someone challenge me out of the box, maybe show me code, I'm going to try to explain. So I'm going to prepare differently for those people. Yeah. So I'm going to check what they are doing in the projects and then prepare. And maybe if you are as well interviewing with HR and managers, try to understand the business, what they are doing actually. If I'm going to Mercedes-Benz, maybe to read a little bit about the history of Mercedes-Benz if someone asks me. So it's something like that. Always understand your audience and understand what you want to sell them, you know. But don't sell fake things. I would say don't lie. There's many situations that some people ask me something, I say, you know what, I don't know about it. I cannot learn all tools. Maybe let's say if you are have let's say knowledge about Tableau, but you don't have knowledge about Power BI, and they ask you about Power BI, you say, you know what, I don't have the skills about Power BI, but you can say all BI tools are the same. The knowledge that I have in Tableau, I can move it in a few weeks to Power BI. So be honest with them and don't try to sell fake skills. This is how I would do it.
Yeah. And it also makes sense to prepare questions because, you should try to avoid an awkward situation where they ask you questions or where you can ask them questions and you don't have anything prepared, right? So it makes sense to ask good questions in an interview, like, okay, what is the real focus of the job? Is it more focused on data engineering or on the data analysis, or how big is the team? Am I working with seniors as well? And these kind of things, right? Ask questions about the environment that they are providing.
Now, this question repeats, but with different forms. Is AI going to replace data science or data engineering or data analytics? I have those questions multiple times, but for different roles. Maybe, what do you think? Maybe short, let's not deep dive, okay? Because I think this is gonna need another session, you know what? Do you think AI going to replace data science?
Yeah, it's really hard to predict the future. To be honest, I think it will be more and more relevant, and AI is everywhere already, like the big language models, and it can help you to be very productive when you code, especially when you have to write like repetitive things like big config files or things like that. AI can help you a lot, or to transform data like from an old config file into a new shape. You can, show the AI the shape of the new config file and transfer it. Like these kind of little improvements you can make. But now with agentic AI, you can actually model entire workloads. What I think will still be very relevant is understanding requirements, talking to people, to real people, understanding the business. That there's just no way to get around it, right? But when it comes to technical implementation, I would say yes, for sure. In 10 years' time, data engineering might look very different, right? But I would think that understanding the business, understanding the purpose, why are we doing this, structuring projects, and understanding the domain and things like that. I think that will still be relevant for us as human beings, right? And maybe I will leave it at that, and maybe we can discuss it in the future a little bit more.
Okay, I have some take on it, but yeah, let's leave it because I think we can spend now a lot of time on this. Do data engineers needs to learn Tableau or Power BI? This is, I think, an easy question. I'm gonna take it. It's a nice to have, I would say, for you as a data engineer to learn those stuff. Now, the thing is, it really depends on the company. Yes, so you might see some weird thing where they are hiring for data engineers, but what they really mean is they need a business intelligence developer or something like that, or some data analyst. Now, you should never, I would never ask for skills in Power BI or Tableau if I'm searching for a data engineer, okay? But it is a big bonus for you if you learn those stuff, because there is a part of data engineering that needs some data visualization. Like, okay, the main job is to move the data from A to B. We need to build a pipeline, we write it in script, but there is like some add-ons we put on top of the pipeline. We put logging, notifications, data quality. And believe me, your data pipeline gonna generate a lot of logs and a lot of data. And you as a data engineer, you have to understand how things are working. Imagine you have like 1,000 tables gonna be loaded from A to B. How are you gonna check the quality of those tables? Are you gonna go through the logs and see whether everything is fine, or just checking the pipeline? If it's green, then everything is fine? No. You have to build some insights for you, some data visualizations. And of course, you can use tools like Databricks dashboarding, or I don't know, in Azure, you can build some dashboards. But actually, it looks way nicer if you build some dashboard in Power BI about the logs, where you connect the logs of pipelines, the results of the data quality, and you make a nice dashboard where you share it with the whole team, like the developers, the managers, let's say the project lead, the operations as well. So you connect everyone to those dashboards, and everyone, believe me, as I go to work every day, that's why the first thing that I check in my morning is everything is okay.
Yes.
But I don't check the pipeline. I check the Power BI report. I open the Power
Yes.
BI in my mobile and look, okay, because we have built a lot of metrics, like about the quality, about the loads. And then I check it, and as I was, let's say, quickly, I had insight. So it's insight not for to do business analytics for the, let's say, the stakeholders. It is insight that we build it for us in order to react quickly for the issues. So yes, if you learn it, it's going to be good, because there will be some time in your project you're going to build some insight about your pipelines.
Yeah.
Right, Simon,
And can I add one thing?
Yeah, of course.
When you are a data engineer, you have to understand certain data modeling principles anyways, right? You have to understand what a star schema is, what facts and dimensions are, what foreign keys are, what primary keys are, and things like that, right? And in the beginning, it can be completely confusing what those terms are, what those concepts are, and you might end up not knowing why you should learn that stuff, right? But when you learn a BI tool like Power BI or Tableau, you are forced to understand those concepts, right? Because when you in Power BI, when you create like a semantic model, you have to link certain tables like with one-to-many relations or one-to-one relations or many-to-many relations and things like that. So you need a primary key and foreign keys between certain tables to link them up. And then you can understand, why is this actually important? This kind of style of modeling data. So it can help you understanding concepts by just learning such a tool. So you know what other people are talking about,
Exactly. Maybe this is for you, Simon. You said you learned on your own, yeah, coding. So the question is that she learned some SQL. She has some knowledge about SQL, but the syntax of Python is confusing and hard to learn. So how would you learn programming language from scratch without getting overwhelmed, yeah, with all stuff?
Depends on what your level of knowledge is. Like if you are starting completely from the beginning, I would say that look at Baraa's YouTube videos and understand the fundamentals of the language. And when you are better and you still struggle with spaghetti code and want to write clean code and you want to understand how to use dictionaries, lists, and stuff like that better, I would highly recommend doing coding challenges. Like what I did was going to Advent of Code. It's like an Advent calendar. It's called Advent of Code. And there you can do coding challenges and you get like a task to code something, then you can do the challenge. And what I always did was when I was done and I had the correct answer, I looked up on YouTube how other experts were coding the same challenge. So I checked out live coding videos where people were coding it on the spot. And I was able to see how an expert, like a very professional expert like Joe Grusz or someone like that, codes the same challenge and how he thinks. You can get into the mind of an expert by looking over their shoulder and seeing how they are working, how they are testing the code, how they are debugging the code. And then you also understand a lot about refactoring code, about clear design patterns. And then that was always the last step for me. I wrote down what I've learned from those experts, and then I went back to my original code and refactored it. I didn't take over their code, but I started to refactor my code, because refactoring is a skill in itself, right? When you are on projects, you have to refactor all the time. So when you do coding challenges, I would recommend first do a challenge, check what other people are doing, learn from it, refactor your code and iterate, do it over and over again, and then you get really, really good.
Nice. I would not add anything for this. It's perfect. Now, another question, how to decide what to choose, data analytics or data engineering as a career? If I am, let's say if times goes back and I want to decide in between, I'm going to spend at least a week or something just reading about those roles. Now you are doing it correctly. Now you are hearing about those experience, what we do in data engineering projects, what Simon has done, what are the struggles. So you are correct here. You are hearing about those two rules. So you have to read about it, understand exactly what is the day of a data analyst. Yeah, what he do or she during the day, and what the data engineer is doing, during the day. What are the struggles and stuff. Once you have fully understood both of the roles, then you decide. I cannot, of course, now decide it for you or tell which one is better, but you are doing it correctly by being in such a live stream. And read about it, understand what they do daily, and whether it's something for you or not. You have to enjoy it, of course, something that you're gonna like. Yeah. Do you have anything?
Yeah,
Simon,
yeah,
to add?
I would totally agree. Go for what you are passionate about and not don't choose a role for a strategic choice. Don't become like a data engineer in order then to become a data analyst or vice versa. Just go directly for what you want to do. And do side projects. Try to get your hands dirty on data. Try to understand what it feels like to be a data engineer by doing tiny projects on your laptop.
Nice. One more question. Do you think we need a mentorship after gain skill to help in criticizing and giving feedback? I don't know. Your experience, Simon, about it. Do you had like a mentorship that someone mentored you during your first phase, during your work, or did you maybe tell first your experience, then I can
Yeah,
tell,
my
or
experience was that when you get into a project or into a company, I'm not quite sure where he is at, if he is already in a job or not. But let's assume you are already in a job and you enter a company. You will soon notice that there are many people on projects and on the team, and you will notice that they have strengths and weaknesses. Some guy might be very good at coding Python. The other guy might be very good at DevOps, right? Doing CI/CD and releases. The other person might be very good at front end development and creating Power BI dashboards and things like that, right? So try to get to know those people, try to understand what you can learn from each person, right? Because it will not be just one person who you learn something from, but a multitude of of people that you can get knowledge from. So I would say just one mentor is not necessary. Of course, it's good to have someone who dedicates his time to you to explain things and also who gives you the feeling that you can ask just any questions and that there are no such thing as stupid questions. That's always the best. But yeah, also try to understand what you can learn from each person, right? If you feel like you need to level up your Python skills, and try to talk more to the Python guy. If you feel like Power BI is your weakness and you want to develop that skill, then talk to the Power BI guy, right? And try to communicate with them.
I would add as well, Simon, to this. You don't have to actively search for a mentor after gaining a skill. You can get inspired as well during the projects. Like, for example, Simon was doing great scripting our, let's say, codes, and a lot of juniors did get inspired by him.
Mhm.
So this is something as well you can do. I think as a start as well for me, I was not that good, for example, building ETL jobs and stuff. And there were a woman at the work. She was really building amazing things, how she structured the data pipeline and stuff. And I was like checking her work. I was not asking a lot of questions. I check her work and get inspired and learn from her work. So you can learn from the others by inspecting their code, inspecting their work, get inspired how they document, their Jira ticket, how they document their code, what are the naming conventions that they are using. So you can get inspired by people more than that someone sit near you and start, like, let's say, gives you advices all the time, because I don't believe this can work a lot. You have
Yeah.
to get inspired more than get mentored, I would say. Right?
And what's also good is doing peer programming. So not everyone likes peer programming. You have to find out if the person is open to that. But when you see a senior that you find inspiring, you can ask, okay, can we have a peer programming session? I would like to look over your shoulder and see how you develop something, how you structure a problem, how to build a first proof of concept, and how to make it production ready and things like that, right? So you can get into the mind of an expert. And if there's no one around, then look at, when it comes to Python, do Python challenges and look at live codings on YouTube where people are live coding a challenge. Then you can get into the mind of an expert as well.
I think now I picked the last question because I promised Simon we're gonna do only 1 hour. Now we are already 2
Yeah.
hours. So we have to
Yeah,
have some end,
I hear my kids already in the background.
Yeah, I'm
We
I'm
can
really
take
sorry,
one, yeah.
Simon, but You have to tell me. Yeah, we can stop now if you want. Sorry for that.
Yeah, let's take
The
this
last
question.
question. Yeah. What is the difference between juniors and senior data engineers? What separates them? You know what you say now? I'm junior, or do am I now a senior?
Yeah, I would say that.
You can start. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that a senior developer has like pretty solid knowledge and knows how to tackle complicated tasks. Like he's organized, he owns the task. He can break down a strategy how to tackle the task and get it done. And he also has like foresight, or she has foresight, because juniors sometimes tend to build a solution just once, and then they don't think about it anymore. But the truth of the matter is that when you build a solution, you have to refactor it a lot, you have to maintain it, you have to change it a lot. That means that you have to build it in a structured way, in a good way, so that you can in 3 months come back to it and don't be completely confused, and because it's not documented, but you build it up in a clean way, so that after 3 years 3 months or so, you can go back to the code and to the solution and keep improving it, right? So yeah, having a clean way of working and a structured way, I think it's very crucial as a senior.
I would add to it exactly. Um, I would say a senior would as well be doing more than one project. Like, for example, it's not someone that has done only one project. He
Yeah.
or she should at least done like two projects at least, because you have to see it all. Not to be on one project and you see only the struggle of this one project and you learn only those tools, because it's going to be not enough to say you are a senior. So you have at least to experience two projects, I would say, so that you know
Mm.
exactly,
Yes.
let's say, the challenges, because each project is different. The people,
Yes.
the tools, the platform, the challenges. So you cannot say, yeah, I have done one project and now I am senior. So this is one
Yes.
thing. They should at least be two projects in their resume. And as well, it is once you noticed you are reviewing other people's work, you are doing pull request review, you are checking whether they are following the standards and the guidelines, then you are already a senior, let's
Yes.
say,
Yes.
because you are reviewing others. So you are not only getting a task where everything is written step by step, you are as well taking part of the projects. You are
Yes.
leading, you are reviewing, you are going in discussions and stuff like that. So you go out of only like, I wait and I'm gonna get my ticket and I will write down the
Yeah.
scripts and that's it.
And as
This is
soon
what
as
juniors do. Get more
you
involved in the project, right?
yeah, exactly. And as soon as you notice that you have some knowledge to share, that you can teach others, right? And that they ask for your help and your guidance, that's when you can tell that you're a senior.
All right. So now we have to wrap things up. Otherwise, Simon will never join me again in those live sessions. um, Simon, I really enjoyed this a lot. I miss those days. You just brought me some nice memories from projects, and I hope people from our projects are watching this. If you are, then hi, and if you would like, you can join me with Simon. We can go to 3 and start discussing stuff. So I know some of you are watching. Hi for you, and I miss you all, of course. For the people that are watching this, thank you so much for joining our live session. I hope that you enjoyed it, hearing those stories and answering your questions. And maybe, Simon, last question for you. If I think people likes you, I really do. I saw a lot of comments that people are really enjoying hearing you. So how they can I would not say contact you, follow you, let's say, and check your work. What are your plans? How I
Yeah,
can
so
follow your
basically,
work? Can you
yeah,
give me
so
your number? No, I'm joking.
yeah, I saw some questions about emails. Mr. Hommel, can you give me your email
Yeah.
address and stuff like that? Yeah, so basically, I've opened, like, it was a spontaneous idea. Baraa told me that he wants to do a live stream with me, so I decided to open another YouTube channel. It's called Data on My Mind. That's what I've called it. There's no content yet, it's completely naked, but maybe we will post or we will publish a best of video of this live session, and then I have my first video on there.
Ah,
So you can like and
nice.
subscribe, do what the typical YouTube
Exactly.
user
Like,
does.
then I'm gonna ask you all. I put his channel in the description. I would really ask you all to click on the channel, subscribe, and follow Simon, because I'm gonna follow his videos. I'm pretty sure he has amazing knowledge, and he can explain it in a nice way. A lot of people at the work, they enjoyed Simon, let's say, explanation, and he explained stuff for juniors, and he was really a model, yeah, for a lot of junior developers. So yeah, if you would like to follow him, then check his channel that is empty now, but you're gonna put content on it.
Yeah.
And guys, if you're enjoying this, of course you have to, I would say, to support this so that we continue making some content like this. Subscribe, like, and comment, and all those stuff. I enjoyed this a lot, and I'm pretty sure that we're gonna repeat this again, Simon. I hope so. Think about it. If you enjoyed it, we can repeat it. And I enjoyed as well all the questions. Thank you everyone for all the support, the nice comment, the hearts. You guys are really amazing community. I'm really happy to be here. It was one of the best decisions that I made, is to come to this community. You guys are wonderful. So thank you so much all. Thank you, Simon. And guys, we're gonna see
Yeah.
you in the next stream, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think we will do this again. And I saw the question. The channel is called Data on My Mind. When you search that on YouTube, hopefully you will find it. Yeah.
Follow him, guys. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.